Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we are going to be looking at Sawyer, who has randomly, out of nowhere, just become an Ascendable character. And it is the legacy character, of course, that is Strong Sawyer, one of my favourite 5-star characters. As a 5-star he looked pretty sick. Obviously his rush was called Time to Carve and it did 300% damage and stun for 1 turn up to 3 enemies. Now the 6-star is a Road to Survival #2. Originally when he came into the game it was a Hordes character. It was really strange, but it is Road to Survival. Looking at his stats, he has 2,163 attack, 1,514 defense and 1,731 HP. He is a strong character still, of course, and his role is damage, which is great obviously because a lot of free-to-play people, there's something that they lack, is that really good damage dealer. We do have quite a few, however, within strong, you know, with Sean and Alpha, but that's still, he's a damage dealing character. His rush is called Crippling Rampage and it deals 300% damage and stun for 1 turn to up to 3 enemies, exactly the same as the 5-star version, and the addition is those enemies get 100% heal reduction for 2 turns. So obviously that's a heal block and a revive block because it's 100%. Once it wears off, however, those characters can get picked back up. It's a 76 AP cost, so obviously would be able to go off turn 3 behind a huge AP leader. Big issue here is, while we have got a strong character coming out like Sawyer, there is still no access to a huge AP leader for strong characters within free-to-play. It does not exist. The only accessibility anyone has within free-to-play is Madison, Red Madison, who got put into the 5-star tokens the last time it was updated, like a month ago or whatever it was, and that's literally it. Nothing else is in the game at the moment, and there needs to be a free-to-play character to come out. It needs to be a legacy character to come out to actually take advantage of this, and it will boost characters like Sean, who the last league's character, 85 AR, very slow if you don't have one of those leaders. Looking at his active skill, defense down and AP gain, up to 2 enemies get minus 50% defense for 2 turns. This character gets 35% AP. That's actually not too bad. Unfortunately it is obviously only 35% AP, so it's not going to be an entire turn's worth of AP gain. It's not great. But if he was to take some hits, you could say, you know, instead of doing a normal attack, I could do this, defense down some people, follow up with maybe a decap, and that would be really good. Obviously, if you followed up with Sawyer as well, that's going to be almost a guaranteed kill. Even though he has got quite low percentage on his rush, he has got a very good high base damage on his stats, so it's not too bad. Also, something to mention as well is all of his stats added up are very high. 5,400, which is one of the highest in the game. It's higher than Dr. Stevens, for instance, who came out. I know damage dealers generally do have higher overall stats, but I just thought I'd mention that. Looking at his specialist skill is Execution. He's going to keep that as a 5-star. I'm not a huge fan of Execution. It's nice. It's not spectacular, but let's say if it's a one-on-one situation and he's going to win that fight a lot of the time if it's low HP characters, which is great. Obviously, those characters can get picked back up unless they have got heal reduction from another source. So it's got its upsides and downsides, basically. There's potentially a lot of damage that it can bypass, like a Mercer or something like that who's got a lot of HP can just bypass that, and instant execution is great. Now he has got an attached weapon, and if you look at the difference between his 5-star and his 6-star, the saw blade that he has actually just completely changes, like the actual asset. I kind of like the 5-star version a little bit better. I don't know, it just makes it look like a chainsaw, whereas a 6-star, I mean, it's a proper old school grimy looking one. We'll look at the actual weapon itself. It has 30% attack, 30% HP, and then this is the weird one: bleeding when attacking, a better chance to cause 100 bleed damage for 3 turns to the enemy. The difference between his 5-star weapon, which is 70 bleed damage for 4 turns, that's 280, and his 6-star weapon, a 100 for 3 turns, which is 300, is 20 damage between a 5-star and 6-star. That just doesn't seem correct. The bleed damage on this is far too low. This is terrible. Like, this is going back to the 5-star era where this was terrible in the 5-star era. This is horrendous in the 6-star era. This 100% should be at least 250, I feel. At least. It'd be even marginally good. Most people are always going to replace this because of this. I would say obviously stun on attack is the way to go for a Sawyer in terms of him being a strong character, being able to utilize that. And with the attack and HP, I don't mind that too much. It would have been better if it was attack and defense. just so most people, you could choose. Do you want to make him a defensive character for a defense team, or do you want to make him an attacking character for an attack team? Because I think he could work on both, because his defense isn't that low. It can be boosted quite easily through mods. So you can get 1,000 defense on that without too much of a problem with a defense mod and a defense set. I think he's okay. I don't think he's spectacular. I will probably ascend him just because I'm a big Sawyer fan, but I'm not going to super rush it. I think he could have potentially been better. I think there are some small things in there that is just a bit of a shame. Mainly the weapon. 100 bleed damage is really low. 300% damage, I guess it's okay, but I mean, it isn't really that strong. It's not going to cause too much damage based on a lot of the defensive stats these days in 6-star era is just so huge. I would have liked to have seen that get boosted to like 400 to 450%. I know it is the 3 enemies, but I mean, it's almost identical to what you're going to have with an Alpha, and Alpha just doesn't do that much damage with 325%. So he has got a slightly higher base attack, but the difference is going to be marginal. But the heal block is nice. It's probably the nicest thing about the entire character, but are you going to take him in? Who's he going to replace just for that heal block for 2 turns? I mean, if you don't have a decap, is it very useful? But he does look cool, and I think he's going to be, a fun character to use regardless, even if you don't use him in raid attack teams. He could be okay on maybe defense teams. You'll have to see. Maybe something pops up. Execution is pretty dangerous on defense teams. But that's it. Do tell me what you think about Sawyer. That's the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.